Welcome back to our course on Excel 2013. In this section I want to talk about sharing in general and the use of SkyDrive in particular. And I'm going to begin by talking about sharing a workbook in general. Now, if you've got a workbook that you need other people to work on, one option is for you to do your work on the workbook, send them a copy of the workbook, email it to them, or perhaps put it on a memory stick or a DVD or something. They do their work on it, send it back to you, you correct what they've done or check what they've done and so on. And many people work on workbooks collaboratively in that kind of way. But also for quite a long time it's been possible for people to simultaneously work on the same workbook. So for two or more people to have the same workbook open and to work on it at the same time. Now, whether or not you've ever actually tried to do that, you can probably see inherently a few problems or potential problems there in terms, say in the case of this one, of two people typing in the same cell at the same time, or maybe one of them deleting what the other person's just done and so on. Now, there's actually quite a long list of things you can and can't do when two people have a workbook open at the same time, and I'm not going to go into that long list now, but for example, when you have a workbook open for sharing, you can type text and numbers, but you can't merge cells, you can't insert charts or other objects, you can't assign passwords. So there are a lot of limitations on what you can do. But having said that, many people still find sharing workbooks to be a very useful thing to be able to do. So up until recently, the main way of doing that was to share a workbook by placing it on a network. So you might put a workbook like the one we're looking at here on a network drive. I can access it, somebody else can access it, we can both open it at the same time, and we can both do this limited amount of things to it at the same time. And provided the things we can do and the things we can't do still accommodate what we want to achieve, it actually works quite well. One more recent change to this situation, though, is that nowadays increasingly people are sharing workbooks and indeed other files, to use the terminology, in the cloud, or in the case of Microsoft, on SkyDrive. So effectively you can use SkyDrive as your sort of network drive, your place to keep a shared workbook, and you and other people with the necessary permissions, can open the workbook at the same time. But let's look first at, if you like, the traditional situation, and for the purposes of this I just want you to imagine that this particular workbook is on a network drive, and myself, some of my colleagues, can access this workbook on that network drive. Now, in order to share this workbook, I need to effectively prepare it for sharing, and there is a button on the Review tab in the Changes group called Share Workbook. So I click on Share Workbook, and to share the workbook is very straightforward. All I need to do is to check this checkbox. Allow changes by more than one user at the same time. This also allows workbook merging. Now at the moment, who has this workbook open now? Well, it's just me, and in brackets you should just about be able to see they're exclusive. That means I have exclusive use of this workbook at the moment. Only I have it open, and only I can have it open, because until I enable sharing, other users cannot open it at the same time as me. Click on OK. Now when I do that, this action will now save the workbook. Do you want to continue? Now when we do this, the workbook will be saved, but also from this point onwards, when somebody opens the workbook, they'll see that it's a shared workbook. So if I click on OK, notice at the top it now says shared in brackets, and somebody opening this workbook would see shared, which would tell them that potentially or actually somebody else is sharing this workbook. So let me just click on Share Workbook again. Notice now that it's got my name as the user with the workbook open, but it no longer says exclusive. It's just got Tobiana and then the date and time. Now to remove that sharing, all I have to do is to click the checkbox again, click OK, and I get a warning there. This action will remove the workbook from shared use. The change history will be erased, and other users who are editing this workbook will not be able to save their changes. So I'm going to say yes on this occasion. Obviously, if other people had this open at the time I was trying to remove sharing, I probably need to have a word with them, give them a call or something, send them a message to say I'm removing sharing from this workbook to make sure that nobody who's doing a lot of work on it loses a lot of work. So click on yes, and it's now back to regular non-shared use. Now let's look at sharing on SkyDrive. With SkyDrive, there's actually a pretty good procedure to go through. First of all, I should point out that in order to do this yourself, you're going to need access to SkyDrive, which means that you'll need a Microsoft account. If you've got a Hotmail account or a Microsoft Live ID, that will do the job, but you need to get your SkyDrive set up first. Mine is already set up. I'll show you in just a moment where you can go to set up SkyDrive. If you don't know what SkyDrive is, it's basically storage which you can access from pretty much anywhere in the world given a suitable device. If you're a user of Microsoft software such as Office 2013, you have a free allowance of space on SkyDrive. I think that at the time of recording this, the free allowance is something like 7 gigabytes. I'm not absolutely sure. Obviously that may change. Also, if you need more space than that, there are paid plans whereby you can have more space on SkyDrive. I refer you to Microsoft.com for all of this. I have got some space available on SkyDrive, and what I'm going to do is I've made a copy of this workbook. I've called it 8A, and I'm going to store it on SkyDrive, and then I'm going to show you how I and other people can access it on SkyDrive. So go into Backstage View. One of the options down there is Share. Now I should point out that with the Share option, one of the Share options, the bottom one, is Email. Now this is not the same as obviously sharing a workbook in the sense of a number of people having the workbook open at the same time, but this is a handy set of links to a way of sending a workbook to other people. So we've got send as an attachment, send as a PDF, send as an XPS, send as an internet fax. That's a good way of accessing some of those straightforward ways of not really sharing a workbook but sending a workbook. The one we're interested in though is this one, Share, Invite People. Step 1, save your document to a SkyDrive location. Step 2, share your document. We'll do this after you finish saving. So, save to cloud first, and that goes to Toby's SkyDrive. If you don't already have your SkyDrive set up, then if you click on the Learn More link here, it will take you through to Microsoft.com and more information about setting it up. So let's just have a quick look at that. Now the link here takes you through to an area of the Microsoft live.com website and explains to you about the SkyDrive desktop app, and you can use this to basically synchronize files between the devices you use using SkyDrive as your sort of central storage location in the cloud. If you want to use that, it explains how to download that, and towards the bottom of the page gives you the system requirements to do that. You will need a Microsoft account to do this, and to set up SkyDrive anyway, to actually get the space, you're going to need a Microsoft account. So if you already have a suitable Microsoft mail account, then you should have no problem setting up SkyDrive at all. So let's go back to actually saving this workbook to my SkyDrive. Now when you choose to save something to SkyDrive, you can think of SkyDrive as a sort of removable storage device, if you like. So when you come to go into your SkyDrive, you see a top level folder. You can have folders within that. I've got a couple of folders. I've already got an existing workbook saved here. You can create new folders. So I could put, say, all of the work associated with a particular project. I could put the workbooks into a particular folder, but I'm just going to save this one at the top level. So I click on Save, and that workbook has now been uploaded to SkyDrive. So the workbook has now been saved to my SkyDrive, and I can potentially share it with other people. Now of course other people don't even know it's there at the moment. If you look at the info page from Backstage View for this shared file, note we have a little link here now into Toby's SkyDrive, and if I click on Toby's SkyDrive, it says share or get a link. Now let's click on share or get a link. Now that enables me to invite other people to look at this document and potentially share this document. Now what I can do is I can either invite people by typing their names or email addresses in here, or I can get a sharing link. Now if I get the link, as it says there, this is useful for sharing with large groups of people or when you don't know the email addresses of everyone you want to share with. What you can do is you can get a link and then you could include that in, for instance, an email to a distribution list of people, and that will give everybody in the list access to the link. You can also use the button here to post to social networks, and there's also an email option here. Again, this sends us back to the email links for sending that we saw before, but it also includes sending a link. So various ways that I can send people the link to this document. Let me go back to the invite people option. I'm going to invite a person here. I'm going to invite somebody else. In fact, to be honest, it's one of my other addresses, so that I don't have to give away the identity of another person. That's somebody else with a Microsoft account. And before I actually invite this person, I want you to look at this drop down on the right here. Can edit and can view. Now with the links and the other things that we've looked at just now, there are two versions of the links to this workbook. One link will enable the person to edit it. The other link will only allow them to view it. So if I want Toby.A to be allowed to edit this workbook, I give them this link, or I should say in this case this invite. If I only want them to be able to view it, I can just click here on Can View. So let's suppose I want Toby.A to be able to view this only. Select Can View, and then all I need to do is to click on Share. I could put a little personal message in here with the invitation if I want to. So I could say something like, "Hi Toby." Click on Share, and SkyDrive does its stuff, Excel does its stuff, and when this has been successfully shared, I'll see the other Toby appear. That Toby cannot edit the workbook. Going back to get a sharing link again, for the way, you would send people a view link or an edit link depending on what you wanted them to be able to do. So what I'm going to do now is log in with my other account and look at the message that I got about accessing this workbook. So here I am about to log in using that other account. So click on Sign In. I see I've got 10 unread messages. Click on the first message and it says Toby has shared a document with you. Now because of the antivirus system and so on, I've got to click on the link here to say Show Content, and then this link to the document becomes enabled. Click on that. It will take me to the original Toby's SkyDrive and will take me to this workbook. Now when it opens this workbook, it opens it in the Excel web app, so it hasn't opened it in full Microsoft Excel. And this is very useful because if I send this link to people that don't have Microsoft Excel installed, they'll get the Excel web app. And this really enables the person, in this case this Toby only has the rights to read the workbook anyway, can't make any changes, but it enables the person to see what's in the workbook even if they don't have Excel installed. If I had given this Toby edit access to the workbook, that would have been able to go in and do some editing, although exactly what could be edited would be restricted by the use of the web app. So there we are. There are quite a few other aspects to the sharing of a workbook using SkyDrive, but I hope from this you've got the basic idea of how it works, and I believe that it works pretty well. I'll see you in the next section.